we go now to Matthew Green, professor and director of graduate studies in the Department of Politics at Catholic University of America. Professor Green, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Let's talk about the continuing resolution. Speaker McCarthy had to make some concessions to get it passed, upsetting quite a few people, many in his own party. Let's talk more about that and the GOP infighting. What do you think this all signals?
Well, there's a lot to say about this, and I think what it boils down to is a kind of battle that we've seen over and over again in the House Republican Party for many years, not just this year, which is that you've got a group of conservatives in the conference who feel very strongly about limiting spending and are willing to use techniques that usually members don't use against their own leadership to try to get what they want. And with Democrats unwilling to cooperate, that really puts speakers, including Speaker McCarthy, in a bind. And ultimately, he had to face either having a government shutdown or compromising on those conservative principles. And at least for now, with the CR, that's what happened.
Yeah, and as we heard, one of McCarthy's main opponents right now is Republican Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, who wants to oust him. That said, Gaetz is facing some scrutiny of his own. What more do you know about this, Professor, and where do you think all this will go?
Well, there have been allegations of impropriety by Gaetz and I think some investigations, federal investigations at one point. And apparently, it's come out that the Ethics Committee in the House has also been looking into this. It's not clear where that's going to go at this point. I will say that doing what Gaetz is trying to do, not only is it very difficult, but it can really rub members the wrong way because from them, they have a leader. They've elected a speaker. He may not be perfect, but to have someone stand up in your party and say, we have to get rid of them right in the middle of a Congress really distracts members from things that they want to do, can take away from the party's message. So I don't know what Gaetz's end game is here, but he does seem serious in trying to remove Speaker McCarthy.
Yeah, and going back to the CR, funding for Ukraine was a big bone of contention in the deal. I want to get your thoughts on that. And do you think this points to a shift in support of Ukraine and possibly a policy shift?
Well, we've had majorities of both parties in both chambers vote previously to provide military assistance to Ukraine. So I don't see this as a major policy shift. What I think this was a tactical move on McCarthy's part and on the Republican leadership's part in the House, where they said, look, we've got to have something come to the floor that gets a majority of Republican votes, maybe not all Republicans, but a majority. And we don't want to give up everything that some members of our party care about, like funding for Ukraine, or at least those who do not wish to continue funding or providing military assistance to Ukraine. So the CR excludes that funding, but that's only 45 days. And again, that's not a sign, I think, of a major policy shift so much as it was a decision that this is what we needed to do in order to get this CR over the finish line. So it buys us some breathing room to try to pass more appropriations bills.
Yeah, and of course, this is really just a stopgap measure. That said, curious, who do you think were the winners and losers in all of this?
Well, it's a little hard to say because we have this potential resolution to remove the speaker, which if it passes, then McCarthy would be the loser. I mean, I think at this point, it's hard to say who a winner or a loser is. I think both sides, we heard earlier in the report, are sort of claiming that they're the winners and the other side is the losers, and that's fairly common on Capitol Hill. I would say that for now, we've sort of kicked the can down the road a little bit. So at least we don't have a government shutdown, which I think most people would agree would be very damaging, certainly to Americans who rely on government programs and support from the government, and probably also hurt House Republicans. But we'll find out in about 43 days or so whether or not Republicans in the House can pass the rest of the appropriations bills they need to pass to keep the government open with the priorities that they care about, and then see what ends up becoming law.
All right, we're going to leave it right there, Professor Green. Thank you so much for weighing in. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.